Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Myers, President of Society Insurance Research. Thank you for joining us for today's President Chat, where I get to catch up with past SIR presidents. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Society of Insurance Research, or SIR, we're a community of insurance research professionals focused on the exchange of ideas, best practices, conducting research and educational activities and events. Today, I have the honor of meeting with Karen Vanderhoof Forschner. Karen served as the 19th president of the Society of Insurance Research in 1988. Thanks for joining me today, Karen.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate this.
Great.
I loved SIR, so yes, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your career in insurance.
I graduated from Muskingum College in Ohio. My husband was living in Columbus and working for Pete Marwick or Arthur Anderson, one of the big eight at the time. So I looked for a job in Columbus and I was hired by State Auto. There I met Lauren Shepester, the founder of SIR, and started my journey in insurance. One of the first things he suggested I do is start with some insurance courses. I was a biology major and a psychology major. So I started with some insurance courses, and then I wanted to get the CPCU. And the insurance company, I was the first female in a non-clerical job they had ever hired. Years were different. You go to the restroom, you've got 10 minutes, and they time you when you leave your desk and go there. I was an underwriter. And later on, I would find out that my great-grandfather in Ireland, on the Vanderhoof side, set the first property casualty insurance company in Ireland to cover the Catholic people with property casualty insurance for losses by fire.
Wow.
And my father, Erwin Vanderhoof, wound up setting up Standard Security Life Insurance Company. He became an actuary, and he was their actuary and helped establish that in New York City. So it sort of runs in the blood, You sit down at the table and it's the cost benefit, risk benefit of everything you do in your life. It came naturally. And at State Auto, I wanted to do the CPCU courses, which I started. At first, they were reluctant. They didn't think that women could do it. But like I say, times were different. So you had to trailblaze. And of course, SIR is full of trailblazers. So it just seemed like a natural fit. And Lauren asked me to go there and become a member and learn more about research in insurance. So I joined SIR and eventually became vice president of conferences and vice president of research, then moved up. And at one point I moved back east to the Hartford Insurance Group in Hartford, Connecticut. My husband took a job here with another big eight firm. Then I wound up working around the country and set up my own consulting business for an innovative insurance product called Group Auto, and became famous because of that while I was doing the conferences. Then they elected a president who resigned because he left his job to sell boats, because he's a big boater. And they came to me, called me up one day and said, nobody else can lead the group. We need you. And I said, yes, I would love that. I ran for it. I didn't win, but I would love to. And that's how I became president. It was nice and very fulfilling. I worked with Wesley Ohms and Terry Shea, and there was just a bunch of them that were kind and accepting and willing to take on the unknown to improve society. So it was exciting. And I worked at State Auto, moved back to Hartford, set up my own insurance consulting. And while I was doing that, I had a son who got sick from a mysterious illness called Lyme disease. Since I knew how to do conferences, some researchers came to me and asked me to set up the first nonprofit Lyme disease group, which I did, and eventually went on Nightline and Oprah 2020, interviewed with Dan Rather. I was on the news every place. And Lyme disease rose around the country, and next thing you know, everybody knows about it. And so that's where I am. I wound up breaking my leg, had to relearn to walk. They thought I'd never walk again. And once I started walking, I had shut down the Lyme Foundation while I was so handicapped and started it back up. And here we are. I'm president, chairman of the board of the Lyme Disease Foundation, and researching answers and the truth and public education. We had 2 TV programs that I produced, one on Lifetime and one on PBS, with puppets from the School of Puppetry at UConn. And I can remember going down there to see if they would do this kids education program, and they loved it. And I kept asking the professor, you mean you really do certify puppetry as a major? He goes, yes. I said, what kind of parent would let their kids do that? And the answer was the kind who want them to work for Spielberg. And then he rattled off a list of where his graduates had gone. It's like, good enough for me. I'm 10 minutes down the road, we could use you. And we had a government grant to do this puppet education, which we did bilingual and with Luis from Sesame Street. So all of a sudden you're in SIR. Next thing you know, your son is dying from a disease, Lyme disease. He did die when he was 5 during a relapse. And then next thing you know, you're producing TV programs. So you need that flexibility that you learned from SIR and doing the conferences to apply to your future career. So it was a great move by Lauren Shepester.
Yeah.
That's how I got in it. It's in the blood. It's in the brain. Yeah.
That's a great story. I mean, you know, connecting with our founder to lead into your start of your career in insurance. As we were talking about before, I mean, last year was the celebration of SIR's 50th anniversary after Lauren started it with a few others in Columbus, Ohio, in State Auto. And to know that you're connected to that and that your family in, Ireland, had, insurance in their blood, then have to go through tragedy and, and come out of that. So that's a great story. Yes. Tell us a little bit more about, during your time in SIR and as president and any time after, about some of the favorite things that you recall, from conferences and your head of research. I mean, you had such a long history and contribution to SIR. Just tell us a little bit about, some of those folks and that time period.
I think what we were trying to do is expand the boundaries of knowledge of SIR members. And that's really the most amazing part, are the members and the friendships made. We had Lieutenant Colonel Hopper, Grace Hopper. Grace Hopper is the initial initial computer.
Yeah, programming.
Programming. I don't know. Excuse me. If you've seen Hidden Figures, it's a movie. Okay. She was that type of group. And she worked for the Navy. She wound up having a computer malfunction one day. And in that malfunction, she went in and pulled out a moth and coined the phrase, "There's a bug in the system." And so she told the story about how that started, but it was nice to be able to bring in new ideas, to seed it to the group. And then everybody goes out thinking new things and going new places. They were really interested in something new, because I'll tell you, the public would think innovation and insurance as an oxymoron. Couldn't exist. Insurance isn't innovative, but it can be. and it is in certain places.
Yeah.
So it was exciting, and I loved going to the meetings, and I loved meeting the people. They talked freely about what they were doing, how they were doing it. I was part of State Auto's computerization, and at the time, people were going through trying to put computers in their offices, and they decided one of the executive decisions is the first person to get a computer would be Paul Ginger, the chairman, because people lower down thought they were clerical typewriters and didn't want anything. So there was a huge issue of resistance. So after research, they found you put it with the status symbol as a status symbol to the top of the line. And then their people wanted computers, and people under them wanted computers, and it made it more successful.
Yeah, gotta lead from the top, that's for sure. That's interesting that you also connected with Grace Hopper during your time at in SIR. That's really, and so you were a real trailblazer, you know, and there was a lot of period, you know, where, you know, we're actually talking, you know, here we are in 2021, and we're still talking about, you know, diversity topics and you know, in all areas of demographics, and, you know, trying to make sure that you know, we're inclusive and equitable, you know, amongst, you know, women and different racial equity and things like that. And you were going through it in the 70s and 80s, and, you know, and those kind of things, and leading the way in that. So that's great. You know, and so really interesting stuff. My third question is just, you know, after, you know, you kind of you started your foundation, and, you know, the work you're doing in Lyme disease, you're you know, as someone that's not day to day in the insurance biz, but is so much in your blood, what challenges and opportunities do you see for the insurance industry, you know, now at large?
I'm going to change the order a little bit. I'll have a little bit more to say about what I've done in the meantime. And I went to, I got my CPCU, I got my CLU in life insurance. Then I went to law school and got a degree in healthcare law. Then I went to advanced law school to get my LLM in insurance law. So I never lost the passion for it.
Yeah.
So that's some of the degrees that are on the wall. And I was admitted to the Supreme Court, in Connecticut court, and then the Supreme Court.
Wow. That's, yes. So if all the other stuff wasn't enough, you know, it's like, you know, you just kept on piling on there. That's a great list of achievements, and testimony to all the hard work and passion that you have for, you know,
we got the first funding. We got the first funding, me and the Lyme Disease Foundation, the organization I set up. Got the first funding for the government for Lyme disease, for grants to find answers. And I testified in front of Ted Kennedy at the Senate hearing on Lyme disease. So we've been very busy in the meantime.
Yeah.
Now, let me jump on to the challenges you have.
Sure.
Everything has changed in marketing. Everything. And if you don't have a millennial advising you, you don't know what you're doing. Life has changed, and the market coming up is different. My daughter is going to grad school. She's 28. She's a millennial. She's going to grad school online using all sorts of software on one computer, updating them, using her phone. I have a watch. So an Apple Watch. So when it came time for you to send me my LinkedIn, I got a message as I got a glass of water that you were texting me at that time. So there's all sorts of ways now to reach people. But TV, she doesn't watch TV. They have their own news channels online. And when it comes to pricing or a product, they're going to look and find comparison shopping. And it's not the lowest price. It's the one who has the best service to the customer. So she had an accident, someone hit her, and our Geico policy was there. We called them from the car. They were all over it, helping us. And so this millennial thinks customer service is more important than a low price. And when Geico puts commercials on TV with little funny characters in it, she finds it demeaning. It's not funny. She doesn't like it. She wants a human, not a recording, a human to engage with her on whatever issue she's calling about. So there's not a product that she has that she doesn't have a phone number for a human. And so I think the market is going to change. And if you want to find out how it's going to be, you need some type of focus group with millennials, especially those that are really linked in, no joke, linked in to computers and the infrastructure of the internet. She doesn't buy into conspiracy theories. These are knowledgeable kids. She goes right to the World Health Organization for information. She goes to the CDC. She goes to all the sites and evaluates everything herself because she can, because it's online. So one of the things you might want to think about is some kind of smart tutorial about insurance online, and have it done by a millennial.
Yeah, it's critical.
Not old white women and old white men, but someone her age, and get her educated about insurance and risk spreading, which is something I don't think they understand right now. She does, but others don't.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I mean, we were just talking about that diversity, and it's just getting in your different age cohorts and getting in, the young people, the Gen Zs and the millennials, and, making sure that we're communicating to them correctly is critical.
And boomers are not the people to educate them. And I think that's you and me.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're stuck in older thinking. So we need to start brushing up on how things are out there, not how they were 10, 20 years ago, which is my knowledge of a lot of things, including computers and watches. And but she did something funny for me. She bought me a watch that if you fall, it will call 911.
Yeah.
So yeah, she does acknowledge I am a little older, but
yeah, technology is it's great. And I enjoy my Apple Watch. It's got a lot of great features.
Exactly. And she's very adept at Zoom meetings. She does Zoom all the time with her professors and her colleagues and people that she knows that have moved out west, because we're in COVID times, we're pretty well shut in, and she is adept. So insurance companies should be doing things like Zoom meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've been doing a lot of them since last March.
For their clients.
Yeah. And I think that's happening a lot. I think, again, since we all were sent home last March because of COVID, I think a lot of companies have had to learn how to adopt in this new socially distanced world. And the meetings that used to happen face-to-face amongst clients and prospects and teams are all happening, online now, because they don't get invited to the house to sit down at the kitchen table, and, and people aren't comfortable coming to the agent's office as much. Hopefully now with the vaccine, we can have some kind of return to normal. But that's still, it may change, from this point forward, even after we get the vaccine under control. This may be the new normal, as they've come to say, the new cliche. So, but all right. So you kind of segued us into some of that
advice.
recommendations. Yeah, advice for members. So you talked about getting in, millennials and other perspectives there. What other advice do you have for SIR members?
I think there should be some way you can find a position you can take on a topic. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the topic is, but there should be some topic that you could come out and start issuing press releases. SIR has voted and believes, or something like that. Mm-hmm. You should be out front as innovators so that when someone says, who should we call? They call you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's also working with actuaries. I published I did a research project on the cost to society of Lyme disease and undiagnosed Lyme. Mm-hmm. And that was published by the Society of Actuaries. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could have position papers where you come out with something, a cost to, I don't know, something of insurance. Right. Or what is insurance research? Mm-hmm. I mean, is it all done under the direction of your boss? Do you do something separate from your company? Would that get you in trouble? Are you independent? I would love to see, well, on TV when Dan Rather, whoever talks, I'm showing my age here. Mm-hmm. When someone talks, it would be SIR believes. Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea.
You're an important group. You have mm-hmm. great members, and you are able to work with each other on some issues. Mm-hmm. So that would be a good way to show your prominence and your professionalism. Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea. Yeah, and we're going to try. I mean, I think we're going to take that back, and we're going to talk to our committees about some of those ideas. We've recently started trying to release the primary research that we've done and promoting that in press releases and in our different social channels. Last week, in fact, I think this week, Insurance Newsnet shared some of the research that we did on the digitization of insurance, specifically focused on the life and health lines of business, and how consumers, how comfortable are consumers, dealing with the digital channel as opposed to, wanting to talk to someone about certain activities. And so we've been trying to share some of those things a little bit more incrementally throughout the year, but I like your idea even better about having, points of view from the industry, from the SIR about various aspects. So there's always room to grow and improve.
Well, it's always possible that you do a position paper where you do the pros of an approach and mm-hmm. the cons.
Yep.
Or one of the things I did consulting is I looked at all the legislation across the country on group auto insurance. Mm-hmm. And I surveyed them in writing. And then my clients flew me to every insurance department in the country.
Wow.
It was exhausting. But what they would do is they would tell you things about a product that were their concerns, that are hurdles for people to file, insurance companies to file a product. And that was equally valuable. So maybe you could do pros and cons of a particular issue. If you have two sides to it, not should you have a product, shouldn't you have a product, but maybe this is the way it should be done, or this is the way it should be done. Mm-hmm. To explain it, because millennials and others will think. They're thinking all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Smart group. So any other final comments that you have for us today?
No, but I'm thrilled to be interviewed. I appreciate it. And SIR is an extraordinary organization, and it helps develop the people that are involved. It gives them innovative ideas on how to do things right now. You can't meet but you can Zoom, and you're doing it. So I'm glad you're gathering history before it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been an honor to catch up with you, and then last month with Jack Sherva. I'm looking forward to continuing this trend throughout the year. As you said, I think a couple of times, it's really all about the members and the relationships that SIR brings. It's a great community, a lot of passionate folks about their profession, very knowledgeable, willing to share. And, we're trying to build on the legacy that leaders like you built over time, and come out the next 50 years even stronger. But, couldn't have done it without, all the good work that you and others did in the past. So it's great to catch up with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Karen. You have a great day.
You too, and take care.